Excellent. So why don't we get started? Um, Before we get started, a couple of house rules. Please use the Q&A window to send in your questions, and we have people monitoring them, so we will either answer them throughout the session or we will get to these questions at the end of that session. Other than that, thank you for your time, for coming and spending this afternoon with us and learning more about Belden Horizon. Before I get started, let me introduce myself. So my name is Vishal Prakash. I am a product manager with ProSoft. I have been with ProSoft Technology for over 4 years and in industry for over 20 years. My background is primarily in industrial communications, SCADA, and telemetry. Today, we've got a bonus. You get 2 for 1. You'll also have my colleague, Jeremy Friedma, who's joining us, and he will be presenting a little bit of this Belden Horizon solution, sort of some of the new exciting thing that's coming on this later on in this presentation. So with that said, let's get started. Like I said, you're here to really listen and understand a little bit more about Belden Horizon, which is our platform that will allow you to connect your remote assets very easily and very securely. And sort of the key word there is connect. And today, if you think about all of the industry buzzwords, which whether it's digitization 4.0, or IIoT, or artificial intelligence, or data analytics, the precursor to any of those to really look into any of those things and see how it can help improve your process is secure and reliable connectivity. That's what we're going to focus on today, is how Belden Horizon, the platform, can help you connect to your assets, whether they are remote assets, whether they are wide assets in the factory. How can you connect to your assets very easily, reliably, and securely, so you can then take advantage of what your process can do, whether it's getting more data, whether it's ensuring that you can reduce the downtime. And like I said, really, for you to achieve any of that, you're going to need that connectivity. So when we looked at ensuring that you've got this connectivity, like I said, that is extremely secure, that's reliable, we focused in 2 main things. The first, we wanted to ensure that the user experience was very intuitive. If you think about it, every time you wanted to connect to an asset, if you're spending 15 minutes trying to figure out how to connect to it, it would defeat the purpose if one of the reasons you're trying to connect is to reduce your downtime. So we want to make sure that it is super simple, super easy to use. And then the next thing we focused on is security. And you're going to hear more about security as we go through this presentation, but security is very important to all of our customers. It's certainly important to Belden, because what we are tasked with when we provide this connectivity, and what you're looking at, is the pre-ingestion, where you're trying to get your OT data to a point where you can then analyze and act upon that data. So security is very, very important. The platform itself is a managed service. It is managed by Belden, ProSoft. They're one and the same. And the idea being that this is a managed service is to ensure that you can then focus on what is most important to you. So whether, like I said, whether it's connecting to reduce your downtime, whether it's ensuring that you can get the data, your OT data that you can then analyze and improve your productivity, we allow our customers to focus on what's important to them, and then we take care of the connectivity part. It is a highly scalable service. It's always available with the greater than 99% availability, and reliability is built in because of built-in redundancy. This is a global service, so we've got structures and systems in place to ensure that there are no delays when you're trying to access the system. And then the type of architecture that it's built on ensures that there is continuous redundancy and continuous security into it. Now, Belden Horizon is a platform that allows you to manage this connectivity, and then there are different types of connectivity. The 2 main ones that we focus on is an on-demand, where you can connect anytime, anywhere, but it is always for a specific reason. So you're connecting to do a very specific task. You would then accomplish a task and then disconnect. That's a secure remote access, or SRA. The other type of connectivity is what we call as PDN, or persistent data network, And we see this really as a feature of industrial networking, especially to connect your remote assets. So if you take any type of utility application, whether it is a water network, whether it is oil and gas or power, broadcast, any of these networks, typically in such applications, utilities, the assets are spread over a really large geographical area. And it's very important to ensure that you can connect to them reliably and securely. PDN is always on, it's always secure, again, making that simple, allowing you to connect to all of these assets very quickly. What's coming new is edge orchestration, and this is where my colleague Jeremy is going to be talking about this in a few minutes. So let's look at the two types of connectivity, the PDN and SRA, in a little bit more detail. So the first one we're going to look at is secure machine access. So here, the value proposition or the advantages of customers to allow you to reduce your support costs, reduce your downtime. With these benefits, like I said, there are some concerns, especially when you give somebody remote access. There is even today the concern that they're getting access to the wider plant. What about security within the plant? So what we focused on is to ensure that this connectivity is to a very specific machine cell. And the idea is that the end customer is involved in the process. You can only connect once you receive permission with features like vLotto, which will lock out, tag out. And then to also then when you connect, that not only is a process secure, but it's also simple, it's quick, and it's reliable. Like I said, defense and depth security, so multiple levels of security, we're going to be talking about that. But this entire user experience is such that when you do connect to your machine, you will get the same experiences as if you were sitting in front of the machine, connecting to it to accomplish your task. And so that could be, changing set points, it could be changing the program, it could be uploading a new firmware, whatever it is that you want to do. The experience that you will get when you use the secure remote access is that as if you're sitting right in front of the machine. The other type of connectivity, so this is the persistent data network. So this is where it's always on. Think about it as like having a switch in the cloud, and anything that you connect into that switch, they will be able to communicate. It enables peer-to-peer communications out of the box. Again, very critical for utility type applications, where then the reliance and the dependence of a single master is no longer there. Think about a very, very simple application where you've got a tank and you've got to boost your pump station. Generally, the way these systems have been designed and set up is you would have the pump station that sends a message to the master. The master would then send a message to the tank to say, I'm running low, you need to start the pumps. What happens if the master fails? With the persistent data network and peer-to-peer communications, the tank and the pump station can communicate to each other and say, hey, I'm running low, you need to start your pumps. A very simple example, but this is something that's out of the box, right? It's not something that the users have to set up. It's not something that you have to program into the unit and so forth. Completely carrier agnostic. This is very, very important and an extremely useful feature, because you can now have a system where you could have multiple cellular service providers, and they will all still be able to communicate as if it's a single network. So you think about, we've got customers now in New England where you've always got this constant battle between Verizon and AT&T, who provides the best coverage. And there may be one part of the city where AT&T is stronger than Verizon. So you don't want to set up two separate networks, one with Verizon, one with AT&T. Then you got to figure out how they're going to communicate to a single master, or do you need two masters then as sort of the intermediate step? We can take all of those pain points away with PDN, because you can have any type of carrier network that you want, and they can all talk to a common top end. Very secure, which is really the next slide that's coming up. So we're going to be talking about that. And then a very, very comprehensive audit trail, which gives the user a lot of the information about who logged in, how long did they log in and stuff. One thing that's super important to remember with Belden and Horizon, with either types of these connectivity, is that we do not monitor or store the customer's data on the platform or on the device. So the connectivity, we are only providing you the secure encrypted tunnel. Once it's connected, then you can send any data that you want over it. We will know how long you're connected and how much data you're sending through, but we will not know what data is being sent through that secure tunnel. Security, like I said, for us, security is very, very important. It's very high on our list. It's certainly very important for our customers as well. So what we've done with Belden Horizon is deploy a defense in depth technique. Fundamentally, that means it's a multi-layered approach to security. So the principle is it does not stop at one level or with one feature. So if you look at the different levels that we've got, there is security around the actual devices itself. Once you get past the device, where with the device, you've got things like digitally signed firmware. So you simply cannot download any file to it. It only supports outbound connection. So it does not initiate a connection, but it'll respond to a request coming in. Then you've got the user access. And here you've got things like support for Active Directory and token-based user authentication. These features allow the user to integrate Belden Horizon into their existing corporate systems, corporate IC policies, where IT can then monitor user access and so forth. You've got role-based user access. You've got the ability for the customers to set their own password policy, which could be in line with corporate policy about the strength of the password, how frequently they have to change it, what characters they can use. Then you've got the device itself. So you sort of got that physical device at the outer layer and the user access, but then we've got another layer to actually connect to the device itself. And this is where features like vLotto come in, where it's a dynamic request and authorize feature. You got to request access. You're given access only at that point you can connect to the device. The data itself, like I said, the tunnel is completely encrypted. We do not store your data. And then we can also whitelist or an allowed list where you can specify which specific end devices you want to access. And then finally, the platform itself, which is Belden Horizon. Again, built-in reliability with redundant tunnel servers around the globe, dedicated channels for control and data communications. The idea being that when you want to access the platform to manage your device, as critical as that task is, it's not as critical as ensuring that if you've got a remote telemetry network, that the devices are all talking to each other. So by separating the two planes, we can ensure that there is high availability and high reliability for the remote communications in the network. We've got regular third-party pen testing, again, to ensure that this service is always continuously secure. And because it's a cloud-based platform, it allows us to be proactive and ensure that when it's secure, that when you connect to it, you're always connecting to the latest and the more secure platform. And then, of course, there's an audit trail even with things like fingerprint information that tells you where you connected from and so forth. Okay, so with that said, I am now going to pass on to Jeremy to take it on from here through to the end.
Thank you, Vishal. If you could advance to the next slide, please. So all of you are joining us in the midst of a very exciting time in the history of Belden and ProSoft, because we're in the midst of a radical transformation where we are evolving from an organization that provides solutions for the movement of data and protection of data to one that deploys solutions to customers that allow for them to derive insights from that data. And that insights piece is a very key word. With the development of our new edge solutions, we're providing that platform that customers can use to deploy applications that allow for them to, again, uncover those insights from their operational data. And as I talked today about the way in which we have developed the Belden Horizon platform to provide edge enablement, I think it's important to provide everybody with some context about exactly how we are approaching and defining edge solutions within the construct of Belden and ProSoft. So first and foremost, I'd like to talk about the way we are envisioning the edge stack, or the structure in which edge solutions are deployed. So Vishal, if you could click once. It all starts with edge-enabled hardware. So what we're talking about here is hardware that is, and the key phrase is application independent. So this industrial grade hardware in industrial form factors has the ability to deploy applications that can be run to execute a variety of automation workloads. And of course, the key here is that those workloads provide the customer with the ability to uncover insights from their operational data. Now, you'll see there's a wide variety here of hardware form factors that are listed. Anything from HMIs to industrial PCs, even down to remote I/O. Now, the approach that Belden and ProSoft are taking is we are really attacking the area that we would characterize as the thin edge. So smaller, compact form factor devices that are deployed closer to the generation of operational data. And within that realm, we are leveraging hardware that really fits within our core competencies today. And it all starts with edge gateways. Now, the hardware, of course, needs to be complemented by those underlying applications that I just mentioned before. So Vishal, if you could click again. So the next piece that's critical here is hardware agnostic applications. So almost the converse to what we talked about before, the applications that are deployed on edge-enabled hardware need to be hardware agnostic. So it shouldn't matter what the hardware is, the applications need to run on that edge-enabled hardware. And when we're talking about these applications from the Belden and ProSoft standpoint, we're really talking about containers and virtual machines. And as far as the workloads that those applications execute, we're talking about anything from visualization to control to certain workloads that are very commonplace within the Belden and ProSoft product portfolios today, like security, networking, and data ingestion and protocol conversion. But in order for a true edge solution to be viable with any customer, we need to address the top layer. And Vishal, if you could click one more time. And that is this edge app orchestration piece, which in a broader context, we're talking about the configuration and management of edge hardware and software. Next slide, please. To provide a little bit more context about this, what we're really talking about here is addressing a key customer need for the configuration and management of edge compute devices. This is the edge-enabled hardware that I discussed previously, as well as the configuration and management of those individual edge applications that are deployed on edge hardware. So the management functionality needs to address both. But not only that, in order for a customer to have a viable edge solution deployed, not only do they need this configuration and management capability, but they need the ability to do so at scale, particularly in larger installations or those that involve the deployment of a lot of remote assets. And that's this edge orchestration piece that we referenced on the previous slide. So what have we developed? We have developed a best-in-class remote connectivity solution built upon our existing Belden Horizon platform with device management and app orchestration capabilities that are necessary in order for us to have a strong and viable industrial edge solution to bring to market. Next slide, please. So what does this look like in context? Well, first and foremost, we have enabled Belden Horizon to have the ability to configure and manage industrial edge gateways that have already been released by Belden and will be released by Belden and ProSoft in the future. This provides users with the ability to onboard, monitor, and update any of these connected devices, but also have the ability to do so at scale. So it could be 100 devices, it could be 1,000 devices, but ultimately we provide the user with the ability to handle this configuration and management of the device, as well as the applications. In this case, it would be Docker containers that a customer has the desire to deploy on these devices. And not only that, but we've provided the user with the ability to leverage the really significant security features that are already made available through the existing Belden Horizon services that you just heard about previously, those of SRA and PDN. So the defense in-depth security available previously in the Belden Horizon platform is applicable here as well. So all of the configuration management and orchestration capabilities that are available to the customer to deploy at scale also allow for them to do so securely. So with that, this is our opportunity to conclude, but we've left some time for any questions that any of you might have for us. So thank you very much for your time.
Hey guys, this is Julianne in marketing. Looks like we got a few questions coming in from the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I guess Michelle answered a lot of those. Did you want to address those, Michelle, a little more?
You're muted, Michelle. Michelle, you're still muted.
Oops, sorry. Yes, I can see some of these questions coming in. Thank you again for the questions. So one of the questions was, how many end devices can I have per gateway? And then is there a way where you can define what client has access to a very specific device? So the answer to that question, to the two parts of that question, is yes, you can certainly have multiple end devices connected to a single gateway. Once they are connected, you can also then assign, using the role-based user access and the device-based user access, as to which devices a customer can access. We've also got additional tools within the platform that allow you to manage multiple customers. So if you're an SI, for example, or an OEM, a machine builder, we've got a concept called as projects that allow you to create projects, let's say for each customer, each plant, which you can then segregate as to what devices that particular project can access.
Okay. Did you check out the other ones? Is that it? Let's see.
So yes, there is a question that's come in for about the orchestration platform or the feature. Would it be necessary to use a Belden gateway? Jeremy, do you want to take that question?
Absolutely. So today, the answer to that is yes. In order to leverage the edge orchestration capability, it would require the use of a OpEdge 8D edge gateway. Now, as we introduce new edge gateways to our portfolio, a prerequisite prior to launch will be the integration with the Belden Horizon platform, and we will continue to expand our edge compute hardware offering in that manner. We also intend over time to add, and this goes beyond edge orchestration, but additional support for other Belden and ProSoft products for device management and configuration capability with Belden Horizon. The majority of our hardware roadmap, or our hardware offering, is currently on our Belden Horizon development roadmap for that functionality.
Thanks, Jeremy. There was another question that's come in, Julie, and this one is there any ProSoft model with 5G? Great question. So we have products that are 5G capable and ready today. Really does depend on your application, your use case, and a reason as to why the 5G would solve your problems. So if you could please either get in touch with your local manager, or I believe when we send you a copy of the slides for this presentation, our contact details will be included. So please feel free to let us know about what your exact requirements are, and then we can provide a more specific answer.
Okay. Do you think we can do one more?
We certainly can.
Does PDN only work with cellular? How about that one?
Good question. No, PDN does not require only cellular connectivity. It can be a wired connection as well, as long as the gateway has got access to the outside world, so to the internet. The PDN network will work with again, on a single network. You can have both cellular devices and also wired WAN connectivity connected devices. Jeremy, there's another question. Again, I think you can take this one. It says, do I need a special license to access the Horizon orchestration platform?
Very good question. So in order to access the capability, it just requires the setup of an account on Belden.io. And the way in which we have structured this particular service is that there is a limited amount of data transfer and download that is available to the user free of charge. And then once a certain threshold is reached, we have subscription-based pricing in place for larger data amounts that are required of the customer. And we would be able to share that information via a price list thereafter.
Thank you, Jeremy. Julie, do we have any more questions?
I think that was a good Q&A session, but I think we're about done.
Excellent.
You guys did great. That was great information. Thank you very much. We should probably close it out right about now, but that was excellent. Good information. Thanks, Jeremy and Vishal.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time. Have a great afternoon.